Hello. Hi, my name is Bess Blessing, and today I would like to do a video to talk about being led by God. All right. Yeah, I am coming in here today because I want to share some amazing experience that I had some years ago that I felt it was a direction by God, because the thing that came after that, obeying the voice of God, it's what brought me here today. It's where I am here today. So today's sermon, I call it sermon, today's story, it's when you are led by God, He gives you confidence, He gives you favor and to do, and to understand what to do. All right. So this story that I want to share happened when I was 19 years old. And that's when I believed that I heard the voice of God. And even then, I was not a born again Christian. All right. I was not a born again Christian, but I needed a favor from God. I had just graduated from high school. Was looking for a job because I could not afford to go to the university. I'm originally from Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria, and I had just finished high school, got my grades, had a good grades to kind of like allow me to go into university. But my parents at that time could not afford it, and I needed a job desperately. You're a young girl, you need money. You cannot always depend on your parents, and they could not afford to send me to university at that time. So I had prayed and fasted. I remember fasting for 3 days to get a favor, to get a job. And after that 3 days, I didn't get a job. And I was a bit distraught because prior to that period, when I was really, really looking for a job, I think I'm going to put a pause on that because that is going to be a linking of the story. But in any case, I heard after that 3 days and several days later, I heard the voice of God telling me to go to a place in Port Harcourt. All right, I'm from Port Harcourt. There's a building called Waterline. It's in Port Harcourt, River State, Nigeria. And I heard this impression from God to go to this building and ask for the manager. And when I get to the manager, to inquire from the manager when the airline of Nigeria was going to hire, and the airline was Nigerian Airways. When Nigerian Airways was going to hire, and I just followed. I listened to that voice, and I went to this place, and I inquired about the manager of that airline. And I remember being asked to go upstairs, so I climbed upstairs and looked for the manager, and I found him, and his name was Mr. Joe. So I asked Mr. Joe, I said, "Excuse me, sir, I would like to know when Nigerian Airways will be hiring, because that's exactly what the Lord told me to ask the man." So I asked him, and he said, "Oh yeah, Nigerian Airways will be hiring." And I said, "When?" He said, "On Monday." And on Monday is just the next week. And I was like, "What?" He said, "Yes." And he said, "Make sure that when you come early, because they're going to be hiring for flight attendants. And this is one of my dream jobs. I've always wanted to be a flight attendant." Okay. And prior to this day, I had traveled just a few months ago and went to Lagos to look for a job. And my experience was very horrible, painful. All right. And I didn't want anything to do with that airline. I didn't want to hear the name. So when I heard from God to go and look for this manager at this particular location, branch, building that has the Nigerian Airways office, I was a bit distraught. But I just followed that voice, like a confidence that said you should go. So he said, "Come the next Monday." So the next Monday I prepared and went to this water line and queued in a line. The line was amazingly long. Hundreds and hundreds of people turned out for this job because everybody's looking for a job, basically. So I turned up and queued on the line, and it got to my turn. It was late in the day, around 4 p.m. because I came in around 6 in the morning. I came in 6 in the morning to queue in for the interview that starts 8 o'clock. And I got called around that after 4. Okay. And when I got called, I was interviewed. I remember those who interviewed me. Some bosses that I later were able to meet. Anyway, well, pause, reverse, erase that information I just gave you. But in any case, I don't know them. I didn't know those who interviewed me. I've never met them before. So they interviewed me, and then they told me that they're going to email. I mean, not email. There was no email in the 80s. They're going to send me a letter, and I should expect the letter in 2 weeks. So I went back home and was expecting my letter. 2 weeks came, and I didn't get the letter. I did not get the letter in the mail. And I was distraught. I was like, oh my God, this will haven't written me. So the voice said, go back to Waterline and ask the manager if they have hired. All right. So I went back to Waterline and I found the manager and I asked him, I said, Mr. Joe, I have not gotten my letter. And they said the letter is going to come in 2 weeks. And Mr. Joe said, okay, let me inquire why. I think he went into the office and he came back. He said, come back tomorrow. I'm going to let you know why, if they've hired. But apparently, well, I think Joe already knew they hired, but I don't know why he said I should come back the next day. So I came back the next day to meet Joe to inquire about the decisions of my interview. And Joe told me that they hired. In Nigeria, there's something called a quota system whereby they hire from states and they hire a certain numbers of people just to make, to give everybody the opportunity of, getting this job. So in River State, where I'm from, they hire 3 people. So Joe told me that they hired 3 people and I was number 4. I'm like, oh, I was so heartbroken. So you mean I didn't get a job? He said they hired 3 and you were number 4, and unfortunately they only needed 3 people. But there is good news. And the good news is that the young lady that they hired that was number 1 did not want the job. She has relinquished that position and the position to go to university. But so there is hope. And I was like, oh my God, that it's really exciting me. So can you recommend me? He's like, well, he does not make the decision. The decision is made by the director of personnel, who office is in Lagos, and that I have to go to Lagos. And I'm like, oh my God, there's one thing that I don't want to do is to go to Lagos, because I had just said that previously, prior to hearing the voice of God, I had gone to Lagos to look for a job, and I had the profoundest, saddest experience that I don't ever want to relive. I don't want to go to Lagos. I don't even want to hear the voice of Nigeria Airways, but I did go there. So he said, well, that is the only way you can be able to, table your argument that you should be the one that should get that position, because you're from River State. The girl that was hired was from River State and could relinquish that position, and that post, that number 1 post is vacant. And if there's anybody they should give it to, it's number 4. And I said, that makes sense. He said, you have to go to Lagos. My heart was, I was broken. I'm like, I don't want to go to Lagos. He said, you have to go to Lagos. I said, I don't want to go to Lagos, because each time I remember Lagos, it gives me anxiety, because I cannot even tell you what I went through in Lagos. That would be a story for another day. But he said, you have to go to Lagos. And I think he gave me a letter. I was 19 years old. All right, he gave me a letter to go and give to this personnel manager. And at that time, I didn't have the money to go to Lagos for this interview. I could not go to my mom, because my mom has previously given me a flight ticket money for the first time I went to Lagos, and I came back without a job. And so when I went to her, she said she's not going to give me the money because she has given me money before and I didn't come back with a job. And I could not have asked my dad, because my father had warned me not to go to Lagos the first time. So I didn't tell my dad. So at that moment, I remembered somebody. When we finished high school, me and my younger sister, she got a job at a place called Uncle Sam. It's a nightclub restaurant, and she was working there as a waitress. So I remember one day going to visit my sister, and at the bar, I was sitting there and I met this young man. And this man was, I don't know if I should say who he was, but he gave me his complimentary card. His name was Mr. Evans. And at that day, when I remembered I didn't have money to go to Lagos, I remembered Mr. Evans. And Mr. Evans lived in Aba. Aba is the capital of Imo State. I hope it's still the capital of Imo State. So I'm like, gosh, who else will I go and ask for money? Maybe if I call Mr. Evans, he may agree to give me some money. So I called Mr. Evans on that number and the complimentary card, and he picked up. Oh my God! Nigeria was effective, man. Oh my God, Nigeria was effective. And Mr. Evans picked up the phone. Mr. Evans said I should come to Port Abba and he would give me the money. So that day, after seeing Mr. Joe, I took the next available bus to Aba to meet Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans, when I got to his house, he was still at work. So I had to wait for him to come back from work. And when he came back, he met me and I told him, please, I needed money. I have an interview in Lagos and I didn't have enough money to pay the flight ticket to go to Lagos. And I think he gave me the money. I forgot how much it was, but it was enough to pay for the flight ticket one way. I went back to Port Harcourt that day, and the next day I told my parents I'm going to Lagos for an interview. For an interview? I didn't even tell them what it was. I just told them I was going to Lagos. So I bought my ticket. It was one way with a letter that Joe gave to me and arrived in Lagos. When I arrived in Lagos, okay, backtracked. In the airport, in the plane, flying from Port Harcourt to Lagos, I met some guy sitting with me, was trying to chat me up, talk to me. But my heart and my mind was centered and focused on going to meet I forgot his name, but the director of personnel. So I was not really interested in somebody chatting me up. But at the end of the flight, this man, I can still remember his face. He gave me his flight, his complimentary card. He said, oh, I'm staying at there's a hotel called Hilton Hotel on Allen Avenue in Ikeja. He said, if you have time, you can come and visit me. And I'm like, you're right. Let me come and visit you. I didn't come to Lagos to visit no man. I was 19, okay? And so, but I kept his complimentary card. So when I arrived at Ikeja, I was looking for the director's office. I didn't know how to get there. And I was asking people how to get to the personnel department. There was this particular man who wanted to take advantage of me, Mr. Alabi or something. And I'm like, oh man, I can never forget that experience. How do you want to take advantage of a young girl just because she wanted to know where the director's office is? I don't understand why men do that. But, I left his office thinking that he was a personnel director, but he wasn't. So finally, I found the person. And he refused to tell me where the director's office is. This man refused to tell me. But I finally found the director's office and got there. And I went there, and the messenger would not let me see the director. He said, go and stand by the gate. Stand there. So I stood by the door of the personnel director's office, waiting to be called. Do you know, for the whole day, I came in that morning from Port Harcourt, arrived Lagos, went looking for this personnel department, couldn't find it, finally found it. They asked me to stand by the door. I stood by the door from morning when I got there till 4 o'clock when they closed. The director did not see me. They said, I'll come back tomorrow. He's busy today. Now, my dear brothers and sisters listening to me, I have nowhere to sleep in Lagos. I have nobody to go to. Although I have a family member who was a cousin, but I did not feel that confidence to go to this family member because I didn't think they were going to let me sleep in their house. I didn't ask because of the previous experience that I had coming to Lagos. So, but then I remembered now the young man that I met in the plane that sat by me that gave me his complimentary card and told me that he is staying at Hilton Hotel. Interestingly, that day, while I was waiting at the door, waiting for the department, for the director's permission to see him, to tell him why I was in Lagos, why I should be chosen. There was this young lady that was staying with me. We're all waiting for the director. And I told her, I said, listen, I met this man and on board the plane and she's like, oh, yes, let's go and see him. Maybe he will I said, maybe he will let us sleep in his hotel room. So I called this man. I think then there was phone. I don't know. God, I don't know if there was a phone number. This was 1986. So I don't know if there was a telephone, but I think I called the man and he picked up and he said, I called the hotel. And then the man said, yes, I should come. So I went to this Hilton Hotel off Allen Avenue in Ikeja. And the man was very welcoming. He wanted me to stay, he wanted me to sleep on his bed. I was like, oh no, I'm going to sleep on the floor. The girl that I came with, oh God, I don't want to say anything bad about her, but I slept on the floor and apparently she had to sleep on the floor with me. So we slept on the floor. That man was not very happy. The next morning, woke up, thanked him very much, thanked him, I said, thank you so much. We took a shower and we left. We went back to Ikeja at the Nigerian Airways personnel department and waited for this director to see me. I waited the second day. Now, this is the second day. I can't remember if I've eaten. I think that man gave me breakfast. I remember the man gave me breakfast. So I went back to the director's office and waited by the door, waited from morning till 4. This man did not see me. Do you know the director did not see me? He said, the manager came and told me, director is busy, come back the next day. Yes, 19-year-old girl looking for a job from Port Harcourt in Lagos, standing there. This is the second day. He's like, go back, come back tomorrow. So now the second day, I don't know where to sleep. There's nowhere to sleep. Where will I go? I can't go back to that hotel. I can't call that man again, knowing how he was not very happy that I did not sleep on the bed. Okay, he was not very happy. So I asked the young lady that was standing with me, I said, today now your turn, find out where we will sleep today. Then she's like, oh, I know somebody, I know a family member in somewhere, I don't know where it was, somewhere Abuja, where it was. And she's like, let's go there. So we took a bus and went there. It was very, oh gosh, like a ghetto. That place was horrible. It just reminds me of all the negative experiences I didn't want to ever remember again of my previous experience in Lagos. So, but we needed a place to sleep. So we went there and the family member allowed us to sleep. We slept on the floor. The next morning with mosquito buzzing our ears. Mosquito. And I remember, so the next morning we woke up, took a shower, and went back together to the personnel department office to wait again for the director. This is the third day. Now, the story and the title of my story today is that when you are directed by God, when God leads you, sometimes it may not make sense, but at the end of it, if followed, will lead to supernatural breakthrough. That is the title of my story. So the third day I was there waiting. Oh God, I prayed the previous night. I prayed, God, please give me this job. I am a 19-year-old girl, not in college, not in the university, in Nigeria. Parents, not so wealthy. I needed a job. I prayed the previous night. Prayed with trepidation. And finally, waiting there for this personnel manager that refused to see us. Do you know this man refused to see me? Monday, the first day, second day, the man did see me. Third day, which was the third day, it was around 2 p.m. And guess who showed up at the door? I was at the door. I did not even go into the office. I was still at the door. Guess who showed up? Mr. Joe from Port Harcourt. Hi, are you here? You still haven't seen the manager? Still haven't seen the director? I said, no, I've not seen the director. I've been waiting. No, you say you've not seen the director? I said, no, I've not seen the director. Said, okay, wait here. So Mr. Joe went into the office and started chatting with the director. Even I couldn't even peep. You understand? The director's office has the coolest air condition that when they open the door, oh my God, the air condition would just blow. And I would feel like trying to peep inside so the air condition would blow, because in Lagos it's very hot, horridly, humidly hot. So, and that's where I stood. So this Mr. Joe went into the office of the director to see him. And after several minutes, maybe 30 or 30 something minutes, Mr. Joe came out and said, oh, come in. And now Joe had to introduce me to this director. And that was how I met the director. And they said, okay, go back. And I went out back to the door and waited. And later, they came back, the messenger came back with 2 envelopes. I can still remember the face of those envelopes, white envelope. Gave one to me and gave one to that girl. The girl that was with me, I had met her when I was looking for the director's office, when I came back when I flew in from Tarkat on the plane. Yeah, I met her, and that was how we became buddy and was looking for the director. She too was looking for a job, so they gave me a letter of employment, and I opened the letter. I said, congratulations, Ms. Blessing. You've been hired as a cabin crew with Nigerian Airways. They get all the benefits, and one of the benefits of this being given this opportunity was a hotel. They gave me a hotel, my own hotel room to stay in. And guess what? A flight to get back to Port Harcourt, because when I came that day, there was no. When I came 3 days ago, I only came with one-way flight ticket paid by Mr. Evans. So now I have a letter saying that going to the ticket office to get a ticket that would take me to Port Harcourt. Now I went into the hotel room, ordered the biggest rice. I remember ordering the biggest rice. I have food, I have water to bathe, I have, oh my God, a conditioned room that they've housed me in. And the next day I went and bought a ticket and flew back to Port Harcourt, because now part of being hired is like you're going to undergo a training. I think the training was 6 weeks. So they said I should go and come back to start my training as a cabin crew. I started the training, completed the training, passed the training, and became a flight attendant with Nigerian Airways. This was 1986. Yes, that was how I became a Nigerian Airways cabin crew. And this story really, it's about being led by God. And when you are led by God and you followed, you obey that instruction, there is always a supernatural breakthrough. So because of being hired with Nigerian Airways and working for Nigerian Airways, I was opportuned to travel all over Nigeria. And any airport, if there's airport in Nigeria, you name it, I used to fly domestic flights. After the 6 weeks training, past the 6 weeks training, which was very, very intensive. They train you on the planes, how to open the door, on first class, how to distinguish wines. A lot of training. It was quite very, very intensive. So anywhere in Nigeria that has an airport, I flew. So I know most of the Nigerian states, most of them: Enugu, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, Kano, Gongola State. I don't think it's Gongola anymore. Yola, Katsina. Now it's a different state, but you name it, any state in Nigeria that has an airport. So that was the opportunity of working for Nigerian Airways, and also in West African countries. Most of the West African countries we flew: Gabon, Libreville, Kenya, Nairobi, Guinea, Conakry, Ghana, Liberia, Morovia, you name it, we've been there. I've been there. London, Amsterdam, Rome. Oh my God, America, United States, JFK. So because of this opportunity, I was opportune to travel quite extensively from 19 years old. So this is my story of when God leads you, it leads to supernatural breakthrough. And my intention was to really go to school. So after 4 years of flying with Nigerian Airways, I traveled to America. And I went to the United States of America. I went to the University of Illinois and got my bachelor degree in English creative writing, communication, and also got my master's in psychology and also master's in law. So you can see how God's direction is. God is just profoundly amazing. Well, it's not as easy as this 24 minutes that I just took to talk about the story. There's quite a lot of things that's happened. And I remember this story vividly because it's always good to be led by God. And if you want to be led by God, if you need to hear from God, fast and pray. And if there's anything you're looking for that you don't know how to go about getting it, fast and pray and wait on God to give you direction. And when God directs you and you obey that direction, I honestly promise you, it leads to supernatural breakthrough. That's the story today. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it have encouraged you, and I hope it motivates you to believe in God. And I hope sharing my story, kind of like inspires you, to believe in yourself and in God. Thank you, and have an amazing day.